Hi, good morning, and thank you for joining me so early. For those who might be unfamiliar with me that come in on the recording later, I am Diana Rachel. I am the voice behind the Spirited Witch. There. I am the voice behind the Spirited Witch, Practical Living for Spooky People, and every Monday as I can, not every Monday, but as best I can as a human being, I do a one-card community tarot draw for on my Substack Live that is guidance for the community as a whole, but the community I'm building here, and for people looking for wisdom to take to their communities. It does have a US bias. Despite my best efforts, the cards frequently get political because my tarot deck has political opinions and is loud about it. And before I start, one, because I want to give a few folks a little extra time to show up because I know that sometimes there's a little straggling in. But also, last week we had the Hierophant inverted, which is about changing tradition, changing the way we do things. And again, US bias. Something I want to say is there are certain politicians that have very much voted for the current very unpleasant status quo. And so I want to point out that you don't have to wait for an election to make these people afraid for their jobs. And you don't, yes, excuse me, like untangle my clothing. Yes, election recall is popular. It can take a lot of time. So if you don't have that kind of time, a perfectly legal and acceptable way to scare some of our politicians for their jobs when they are serving themselves and not their constituents is to find out who donates to their campaigns and start making the people that donate to their campaigns miserable, especially the major corporations, especially the lobbyists. And it can't just be you're ugly and your mother dresses you funny, but things where you boycott or you mention where they're donated from and you start talking about if you just start talking publicly about what's already public record and how it seems to be influencing their decisions, often personal embarrassment is enough to get them going. It is a little bit of a project, but it's less of a project than some other things you could do, especially since in the US, because there's so long between our elections frequently, that the industry that has become our so-called leadership relies on people having very short memories, very short attention spans, and very limited contextual understanding. So this is where the power of holding a grudge becomes very handy. So that's just a little tidbit I wanted to share before I get into the card for this week. So do with that what you will. And again, especially for people that can't necessarily do protest marches, for people that don't necessarily have it to be calling their senators every day or are at the point where they're getting filtered out anyway, the next move is to go to the people that feed them, to go to the people that give them their money, to go to the people that actually influence their decisions. So, go make life interesting for them. So I have heard some very entertaining things, especially about overregulation of women's bodies, that you could also turn on those corporations for even more fun. Just a thought. So, hi, welcome. It is March 9th, the day after International Women's Day. And I know a lot of people have some big thoughts about that one. I've been around since before it was even acknowledged in the United States. So it's kind of nice to see it coming up. So the card that I pulled, because I do pregame the card pulls, and I do a 1-card pull here, and then I go over to my Patreon to do a 3-card pull. For those that are unaware, I do have a free membership option on my Patreon for the card pulls, where you do have access to the chat and you do have access to the lives through the chat. But other than that, you can opt for other membership levels that get you other things. So for today, the card that we have is Strength Inverted. And to me, that's making sense, especially with Mercury retrograde. I've noticed, I don't know if this has been true for everyone else, but this has been an oddly busy Mercury retrograde, even on a local level for me. And yeah, I mean, we all know if we're following the news cycle, we all know that's super busy, crazy, overload busy. So, and also it's daylight savings, which means that everybody's schedule's a little bit off this week. And a lot of us that live under daylight savings are going, why is this still a thing? Why? Why? And most of us very much want that hour back. So with Strength Inverted, especially as collective community advice, what I'm hearing is, one, try to get some rest if you can. This is a time to take a time out. Now we're going to see the Mercury slow down in this week. Now we're going to start seeing some things breaking and miscommunications that For some reason, we're a little bit during the shadow period, and aside from high conflicts, it hasn't really been impacting the way it normally does, which is a little odd. So it's the find rest, take turns taking rest. These things we already know are designed to wear us out. Everything going on is designed to wear people out so that they don't stand up and go, oh, hell no. So, and the other part that I'm getting underneath there is everything's been no fun. And when things are this serious, there's a heavy level of guilt that comes to seeking enjoyment, to seeking fun, to having a moment's escape. And so what I want to say to that is, again, these moments of escape, these moments of fun, not only are they okay, they're necessary. I don't know if I would go so far as to define them as an act of joy as an act of resistance. Joy is just natural and should be present if it can be. And seeking joy is just healthy. Like seeking joy to the exclusion of all responsibilities would be the wrong balance. But that natural inclination to seek joy, that natural inclination to just laugh at the ridiculous, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing to judge about that. So give yourselves the grace you can. And I'm also hearing, basically, because everybody's tired, is I'm also hearing that the so-called opposition, the things that are making everything stressful, they're weakening, they're getting tired. Everybody's getting tired. This is basically like one of those things where everybody gets in a big fight and then everybody needs a nap. So what we're about to see is a whole lot of cranky people in need of a nap. So if you can not be a cranky person in need of a nap, go take a nap if your body lets you, or at least find some way to rest, because that is very much what is being prescribed for this week is rest if you can. And rest does not necessarily mean laying in bed or binge watching, although it can. Rest can be going outside and breathing the air for a little bit. Rest can be rejoicing in the seasonal change wherever you happen to be. Rest can be making some art and fixing one thing around your home that's been driving you nuts for possibly years. So when we're seeing the strength inverted, and remember, this is advice. So rather than necessarily a condition or a prediction. So if you're seeing strength inverted as advice, it is the give yourself some grace, give yourself some rest, give yourself room to reboot, and encourage your community members to do. If you have the kind of restful energy that benefits from being around people, I'm not an extrovert, I will never understand, but I have observed the phenomena in my own home. Having some people over to rest together, having some people over to distract and make one another laugh. These are the things that you can do. So that's what I've got for you today. I'm going to be hopping over in a moment over to my Patreon where I do the 3-card community draw. The first 3-card of the month is always free and open to the public. So if you go over to the Spirited Witch Patreon, you will see that. Also, for folks that are so inclined, I do offer personal tarot readings and consultations. And I do fairly advanced spirit work as part of what I do, which may or may not come up in a reading. So if you're not sure what to book with me, just like book a 15-minute tarot and get a feel for me. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my booking link here. And before I go, are there any questions or insights that people would like to share? Okay, pretty quiet group this morning. And again, I am so grateful that any and all of you joined me. I am so happy to see folks here. I am seeing some new folks here. So that's good to see. And hopefully daylight savings will not sweep us all away for those of us that are subjected to it. So thank you again so much for joining me. It does mean a lot. This is community service to me and community time to me, and I am so grateful for it. So stay magical, everyone, and have the most restful week you can. Um, yeah, and Cynthia says it's not lost on me that International Women's Day was the day we lost an hour. Yeah, right? Right? Has to come out of our day, damn it. Why does it always have to come out of our day? All right. Stay magical, everyone. I'm going to be hopping over to the Patreon next. So I will post that if people are inclined to join the free level and just get a feeling for what I do over there. So Someday there will be a more efficient way to do it, but it will not be right now. And again, this entire live was done caffeine free. All right. Have a good morning, everyone.